call this meeting to order, a meeting of the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 1. It's Tuesday, February 9th, 5:30, and we're calling the meeting to order. That's item 1. Item 2, roll call.
Sure.
Hope I don't have the list of them.
Yes, Ms. Patricia Goldberg,
Present.
Mr. Arturo Garcia,
I see his face.
President, I'm just having dinner, that's why, sorry.
yes, Mr. Jose Castillo,
Present.
Mr. Kirby Snideman. I don't see him on. Mr. Henry Sabiña,
Here.
Mr. Jose Ceballos,
Here.
Ms. Carol Alexander. We have quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 on the agenda is citizen comments. Citizens are required to fill out an online witness card no later than 5:45 p.m. and can be found at the city's website. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. No more than 3 persons will be allowed to speak on any one side of an issue. Speakers may not pass their minutes to another speaker. Comments should be relevant to the city business, delivered in a professional manner. No derogatory remarks will be permitted. Anybody sign up? I know we still have a little bit of time, but no.
Correct. We still have a little bit of time, but we have no public comments right now.
Very good. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to item 4 on the agenda. Discussion with possible action regarding the Downtown Church project as prepared by Able City. Board members' comments regarding this information presented and any other matters incident there too. And if you recall, what we did the last time was we went through the presentation put together by Able City to review the project as we had asked them to bring it to us. And we took a couple of their, they worked on a item by item basis to take care of business. And what we did was we approved the project per se and agreed to move forward with the project as presented. And we tabled 2 items on the agenda. We tabled item 7 related to getting information on the TERS grant, on an EDA grant, which we asked Able City to collect some information for us on this. And then they also were asked to collect some information on NEZ tax abatements as they relate to the TERS in this zone. So why don't we go to begin with the 2 items that were tabled in the last meeting and finish off this presentation. Able City?
Can you see what I'm sharing? I'm sharing my screen.
We probably have to give you access.
Nadia, you all can see it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. So we stopped the meeting right before motion 7. The work that we did for that motion was we looked up an EDA grant. These grants are ongoing. There's no ending date for this grant. I don't know if you all had a chance to read it, but it's for the area. It would be for the area on Salinas, which I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's, you know, that dashed area in the map. And so it's an ongoing grant, and we can apply for it. And I have the link application on the. I don't know if you want me to. Do you want me to link it, or have you all taken a look at it?
I think some of us had a chance to look at this and understand to some degree the EDA grants. I'm sure the application form will tell us what we need for the application. Let me ask right now board members if they have any comments related to this action item which we gave to Able City.
Mr. Chairman, if I may comment something first.
Yes.
I think more than anything else, I think if I recall, Mr. Salas had mentioned that so we could present it to city managers, and then so we can actually move forward with council. So I would almost say that maybe if with respect to Mr. Ceballos, if he wants to, do we want to do a motion kind of asking City Council to consider it as a priority project for consideration for an EDA grant? Because the way it works is you need to select 3 or 4 priority projects, and they get submitted to the COG, and then from there it gets submitted to ADA, or it gets approved by council, and then it gets submitted to the COG, and then the Council of Governments, and then it goes to EDA. But we would have to at least have our project submitted as a priority project for consideration by council. What do you think about that, Mr. Suarez?
Yeah, I agree with that. It would make no sense to, start working on it and then not be prioritized. I know at the time that we were talking about this, the city had some other, I know there was something on the city agenda for EDA grant, so there may be another priority, but I agree with that. I'm also, again, very supportive of this. I think Salinas, while we're doing something else on the other side of downtown, Salinas is something that we should continue to work on for things that all of you already know.
Very good.
If you'd like to do the motion, I'll be glad to second it.
And
I'll make a motion that we proceed with this plan of submitting EDA grant for Salinas or an area related to Salinas Street, and to make that request to city management and if need be to city council for prioritization of this project.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Any discussion? Going once? Going twice? Okay, sensing no further discussion, all those in favor and support of this indicate by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. There being no opposition to this, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda that we asked Able City to collect information on was to collect information, and this had to do with also meeting with Sue Darcy to collect some of this information and get her experience with this, was on NEZ tax abatements. Able City?
So yes, we had a call with Sue. Really, since she was involved with this project from the beginning, she gave us a great history as to why things were done the way they were and why the NEZ and the TERS overlap and the nuances of tax abatements versus tax rebates. If you go to the statute, you can also see it under tax abatements there, and they're pretty. They're pretty. It's a common problem that happens even if there wasn't a NEZ overlap on this. The city could do a tax abatement project with somebody, and what they ask you to do by statute is to, if there's a TERS board, the TERS board gets presented that potential tax abatement. When it gets, the reason this is all, especially when there's bonds already functioning under the or borrowed on under the TERS, then it becomes an issue of these monies that are abated not being available to pay a bond. So we essentially, I don't know how much I took the notes. We asked Sue to give us a background and her answers and notes on what we discussed, and that's what I have here. I have it in alternating colors just so that it's easier to read. There's no other reason for that. And You can basically see what's there. I think more importantly, what we need to do is add a note to the application, the NEZ application, that where the TERS overlays, that they come and talk to or refer it to the TERS for discussion.
Right.
And she suggested that we, have these, robust discussions with whomever it is that is looking for an abatement, because it's not that they can't get an abatement. It's just not talked about as an abatement, because that requires a whole other level of it's a whole other statute. So that statute falls under something else, which requires guidelines and criteria for tax abatements to be relooked at every 3 years and every 2 years and readopted by the city. And so, there's just nuances in there that we have to take care of, and then also, talk to people who want to have those who are asking for an abatement, and talk to them about rebates rather than abatements.
Yeah. So.
And, go ahead.
So I appreciate it. I appreciated the conversation with her as well. So it was not an and or kind of deal, or this or that kind of deal. I think Viviana's point here, Able City's point, is very clear, and you'll see in the notes there that the idea is that the TERS can offer an incentive just as well as an abatement program could offer. And the key point that was mentioned right now by Viviana, and I think this is the most important, is that the reason the state indicates that abatements, NEZ abatements within TERS districts must go to the TERS board first for discussion is that since the TERS the TERS money to pay, should a TERS float bonds and use bond money for a project, then that interrupts the flow of money that goes to repay the bonds. So it's a procedural thing to make sure money isn't taken away from one pocket and then left empty to be able to pay off a bond, so to speak. I don't anticipate that in this situation. I think we're going to be fine. But it was just encouraging to hear this from Sue because she's actually experienced it and worked with it. So I appreciate the background you all did on this. Any questions from the board members?
No, I appreciate the background as well. Can we get a copy of this presentation?
I think it was sent to everybody, but I don't know.
We can send it again.
Yeah, we can send it. No problem.
Yeah, I'll probably, Mr. Chairman, Arturo, basically, I probably want to discuss maybe offline with the consultants, just that last footnote, just because I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think since moving to the building department, that's been done.
Yeah.
Right. And let me also add that it would be good to, because the guidelines and criteria for tax abatements, I went and I looked at them, and what other cities do is they put a note in there that says that where there is a TERS, that tax abatements are either not allowed, or you have to go to the TERS board to ask for those for an incentive in that area, just to make it super clear.
No, it's good information. I'm glad you brought it up. From the staff perspective, myself, I need to probably reach out to our legal department and see if this is applicable, or I don't think the way it was set up, it's operating like this. So
yeah, and in this case, you raise a good point. But in this case, for example, we haven't had a situation where an application for a tax abatement has taken money away from the TERS and then it hindered our ability to repay a bond. And that's primarily the reason that they talk about this on the state level. So yes, please, let's do some further research on, but we asked Viviana to get some initial information, and this was the initial information and idea behind how TERSs and NEZs interact.
No, yeah, I agree. This is good information.
Yeah.
One other thing, Mr. Chairman, and Viviana may be aware, we left the inner city reinvestment study kind of hanging. And Viviana, you might be aware, we were supposed to have a housing summit. So we're reconvening that group. It would be great to make anything that would end up being an incentive to layer it on that study as well. So any recommendations that yourself or Ms. Darcy might have, get them to us so we can get them to HRNA and plug them into that study. We'd like to, our purpose was to showcase it in April, and it's almost going to be a year, and COVID is not subsiding, as everybody knows. So we may have a digital unveiling of that study soon, and we'd like to plug in some of these more creative ways of doing things.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay.
Okay.
That concludes unless I'm mistaken, that concludes the tabled activity from the last meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Is there any other discussion? Well, there is. I have a couple of points to point out on this item. So as a follow-up to what I was going to do, that I will admit I haven't done in this 2-week period, but I will start immediately after this meeting, is I'm putting together a memo to the city manager's office, just following up on the action and activity taken on by the TERS board in terms of approving the project, so that we can move forward and meet with the financial advisors of the city. The city asked me just to put together this information in an email and send it off to them, so that then that they can take the next step. In fact, Kirby Sneidman volunteered to carry that, but I just haven't prepared the memo. And as soon as I do that after this meeting, I'll copy the appropriate people and we can move forward. Any other discussion related to this item? Very good. Sensing none, I'll move to the next one, and that is item 5. Item 5 actually is a discussion I just had. Discussion with possible action authorizing the TERS board and City of Laredo to seek financing opportunities for the development. I'm sorry, I covered that in the last item, so I'll just say ditto to this item, and we've covered it here. Item 6, is there any other discussion on item 5? Very good. Item 6, discussion with possible action regarding the monthly invoice submitted by Able City. The board has had the invoice now for a while, and I'd like to entertain a motion that we approve the invoice as submitted. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve invoice.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Okay, then I will initiate some of the discussion just to get some information out there. I know that I've heard from a couple of board members just discussing one of the items that was of interest, and so that we can get a little bit more into it. Able City, could you describe a little bit in detail a little bit more of what went under the 5.1 project visioning and consensus, please?
Yeah. Well, this is 5.1 project visioning and consensus is putting all the projects together that we're looking at doing. And we did that both in December and in January. This reflects 2 months. And we're getting form and direction to the project as we're going along with you. And when we go out to a
Request for proposal.
a request for proposal for engineers, or even when we go out to the stakeholders and show them what we're doing on the streets, we'll be able to show them the drawings and get consensus with that as well.
I want to add also, you'll be able to, also the work that we've all worked on together over the past few months is also going to be used in some of these grants that you're talking about applying for. So a lot of the groundwork is already laid out, you know, that now that there is a consensus on the projects that you're pursuing.
Very good. And I know that's an important part of EDA grant proposal is stakeholder buy-in. Any more comments or questions? Then I'd like to call for the question. All those in favor of approving the invoice as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item, yes?
Are we going, what's the next item? I'm sorry. I don't
The
have
next
my
item
agenda.
actually is adjournment.
Oh, okay. We forgot to we were just talking about those motions, and I wasn't able to talk about next steps. And
Maybe it's the next item, agenda item for next month.
we
Okay,
can do that as an agenda item for next month, or we can talk about it right now. It's on this card.
go ahead and talk about it. I mean, it is item 4. It is on the agenda. It's
Motion to go back to and discuss item 4.
yeah.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So it's real simply, it's just to form a committee to put together an action plan of going and showing the progress of the projects as has been approved, and talking to stakeholders. There's already been discussion with the city, so it's just a matter of getting a committee together to formulate a plan as to how we would go about unfolding a public meeting.
Yeah, I think public participation is important in this. Are there any comments from anybody related to this?
The only thing, Chairman, on this, and I don't know if the board might agree with me or not, but I'd like to see a timetable as to how we're going to be implementing it. So that way we're all on the same sheet of music, and, you know, we're not in 2022 talking about, you know, what we're going to do.
Right.
So if we can, for the next month, have that timeline established as to the hard dates to get projects done. So that's the key issue, projects done.
Okay. Well, that's
construction started. So
that's different from that's different from what was just discussed now, I think. So I want to ask you more for more comment on that, Ms. Garcia, then, because what we were discussing was creating the vehicle for getting public input to this as it's been proposed.
yes, I understand, Mr. Chairman. The only thing is establish that timeline of how much time that is, and then, you know, set it up so that way we can see some hard dates. Again, I don't want to be in 2022 talking about, well, we're going to be going out for bid. You know, we should be going out for bid in about less than 6 months.
Mr. Chair, we can assist you all with that. With everything that everybody is saying, essentially, we can put together a proposed project schedule, beginning with public engagement and a time frame, and at the same time put out a schedule of time from that point to getting this to a process where we can bring in engineering, design time, as well as construction.
So, but I think really if we can just talk about maybe putting a committee together and discussing how we would, you know, work backwards from these tasks. I think it would be, especially where it comes to public participation, I think it would be a really good thing. And Arturo, I think it would be great if you were part of that committee.
Yeah, I don't mind if the chairman wants to lead it, and I'll join in. And I think we could use another chairman. Somebody from the private sector would be good. That way, we balance out the 3-person committee.
So I'll work with Ms. Garcia and myself, and would whoever another board member that would like to be on this subcommittee, please send me an email and let me know. I'll take the next board member that responds, unless there's someone now that wants to say, I want to be on this subcommittee. Okay, well then think about it and let me know by email.
Henry, if you don't get anybody, I'm already on another subcommittee.
Yes, you are. That's why I didn't want to volunteer you again, Jose. So, but yes.
If you don't have anyone else, I'd be happy to help.
Okay, thank you.
We can
I
do
don't think it's going to be like a lot of time on this. It should be a quick, just setting up the timeline and some measures, just so we can make sure that we get moving, get dirt moving.
Like,
One observation or one comment,
Yes.
Henry, is that we should find a place in the city website to start loading some of these public documents. I don't know if it's the community development page or the main page, at least to start announcing to the public what we're ready to, whatever we're going to announce. And I agree that a timetable would be good, not just for us, but to just keep expectations going, or make expectations known to the public, or what that schedule looks like.
Jose, I think the intent is to put this committee under economic development. So I think the ED webpage would be good, especially if all the Thursdays are going to be there. It would be TERS number 1, TERS number 2, whatever the case may be, if the city keeps creating some.
Sounds great.
Wherever it ends up is fine. I just want to make sure that we've got information out there for the public ahead of our forums or whatever, our presentations. And then the last thing on I guess expectations is, Arturo said 6 months. We need to be out recruiting engineers within 90 days. If we can get bonded in whatever fashion the city thinks we should do it, we should come back and initiate projects quickly. I don't think none of us need to be on this board more than a year without having a project. We need to have projects. We need to move ahead. And so I'm all for that. I want to make sure we receive public input, but at the same time, we've got to mobilize. And that's part of the questions that I'm sure you all get, because I get them. When are we going to see a project from the TERS? And we've been in planning for a long time. So I just want to reiterate that. I do agree with Able City and taking public input and making them part of this process, but it needs to be a reasonable period so that we can come back and quickly take action. Hopefully we get bonded and we get all that we put on paper.
Right.
But if we don't, I think we got to mobilize quickly.
I agree, Jose. Your points are well taken. Although I will note, and I think it's important, that as a board, we acknowledge something, and that's that the ability to bond, or the thought of being able to bond, is new. We were having to work with just the funds we had on hand, and that was less than 800,000 until very recently. So, when people do ask me, and I get asked the same questions, there's a good reason for this. The money wasn't there to begin with. And so it is now there. And now the city has indicated its interest in helping us match these funds with bond money. That wasn't there even 6 months ago. So I just don't want this to fall on the inactivity of the board. The board has been working and planning, and I think moving forward. Okay, that said, Able City, I think you have a marching order, so to speak, in terms of putting this timeline. We've given you some ideas on what to do. You have Mr. Garcia and myself on this committee. I'll give it a day to see if I get anybody volunteering to be on this subcommittee as well, and I'll let you know so that we can just start schedule a meeting to begin that part.
okay. Somewhere in the next 2 weeks, yes?
But yeah, that at the latest.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
We're available whenever you need us to be available.
very good. Okay, any other discussion on item 4 before we close it again? No? Okay. Then we've finished item 4, we've completed item 5 and item 6. Last item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I hear?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman,
you.
who was the motion? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Who did the
Motion to
motion? I'm
adjourn.
sorry, to adjourn?
Arturo,
Arturo, and second by Mr. Ceballos, right?
correct.
That's correct. And
Thank
could you remind us of the next board meeting?
Yes, 1 second. The next board meeting is scheduled for March 9th at 2:30 p.m.
Very good.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.